Good morning, citizens. Sorry for being late. Had a little coffee mishap, but I am here now. And I see that we already have people coming in on the chat. So welcome, welcome. We also have our guest today, as shown in the thumbnail, Karol from docketupdates.com. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her up to the stage. Good morning, Karol.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Me and Karol were on a live with Bocce. Well, I was in the chat, but she was on a live with Bocce, but we stayed up late last night yapping. Well, her and Bocce were yapping and I was in the chat as I was putting together the show, and it was really fun. So I'm glad that Karol's saying that after coming back from New York, she's barely making the rounds with all her notes and stuff. So I'm glad we caught her to come on this morning. How are you doing? Are you finally getting back into the groove of
A
regular
little bit. Yeah, I think I'm still kind of catching up on my sleep. I've napped a lot more during the day, which I don't typically do. So, uh, yeah, I'm barely starting to catch up, guys. There's been such a huge drop. Trying to get through it as fast as possible. I do also have my job, so I am trying to move as quickly as possible. I haven't even finished the depositions. I thought I'd be done over the weekend, but I hope to be done very, very soon.
Yep, and we're going to get into the latest on docket updates towards the end of the show with what's coming up next, because you have a couple things that you wanted to share with us on that end. But we usually, here we go, docket updates for the latest news. We click there on that red button. This is how we usually start off our shows. I'm not going to click on it right this very second because we have her in the flesh. And the latest update we're leaving for the end, but I am going to leave this up. We have 111 days until trial, and things are steaming up. If you guys saw on the thumbnail, we have that reverse Uno card. And the
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to put that in there was because the case has taken, I feel like, a complete turn. There is a text message going around from Taylor Swift, I believe, where, she tells Blake Lively that she won right after the December 21st New York Times article drops. And, she's like, you finally got uncanceled. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but now Baldoni has reverse Uno'd you once again. And I am seeing a lot on TikTok, new faces, new creators that are just popping up, old creators that are coming back, people who are Swifties who are now on Team Baldoni. So we're going to get into the two women who I think have hurt her case this week, and especially over the weekend, is Taylor Swift and Sigrid McCawley. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into all the other creators that you can follow. If you look at the ticker down there, Karol was not the only one down there in New York. There was also a couple other creators. You guys had a lot of fun, it looked like, in all
Yeah.
the pictures and stuff, especially like standing in line. I think that was like the highlight of everybody, was the standing in line and getting to chat with everybody.
Yeah. I think that was
A lot
really
of
the
people
only
were like
time.
socially drained, right?
Yeah. You do have to have I think a high social battery. And at the beginning in the morning, really that was the only time to really connect with everyone, because right after the hearing, people want to go off and do their own content, rightfully so. So really, that was the best time to mingle.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. We have obviously Karol from Docket Updates, and so I'm gonna tell you where you guys can find her. She's on TikTok, but she's also on YouTube, and I am hoping that by the time this stream ends, or hopefully today, by the end of the day, that we can get her to the 1,000 subscribers mark, because she is only 42 subscribers short. And I know we have a great community here. I love our chat. It's really a welcoming community. So I'm hoping that, you guys can go over there, hit the bell if you haven't already, and, share it. Share docket updates. I've been seeing a lot more of docket updates and comments and stuff, though. Um,
Yeah, I have
Karol?
been active. I have been active in the comment sections. I haven't been putting out as many YouTube videos. I usually try to read something for you guys. I'm not big on the commentary. Um, Simply, I'm learning, guys. But
Well, I
um,
was saying, I've seen like docket updates being name dropped in the comments, like in Reddit. I've seen a lot of people
oh,
saying this is where
really?
you can find stuff. Yeah.
I thought you meant like me commenting.
No.
I was like, yeah, that
No,
I've
I've
been
seen,
really active.
people recommending, let me be clear. I've seen people recommending docket updates in the on X and on Reddit. When there's a lot of new people who are just coming to the case. We've got a new lawyer. I don't know if you've seen her over there on TikTok. Raven featured her. Her name's Isabela.
Yes.
She's really funny. Her whole motto is I got the facts that come with the snacks. What's her motto? Something like that.
I collect facts like snacks.
I collect facts like snacks. So I'm going to feature some of her content in tonight's episode, which is about film credits and the intimacy precedent the intimacy in film precedents that this decision could set. So we're going to do a night show tonight on that, and we'll feature her. But yeah, a lot of new faces and people wondering like, where can we see the documents? Because some people haven't even seen the original complaint, nothing like that. So docket updates, and she's saying, Karol saying, glad you like the site. Yeah, a lot of people like it. So that's the Karol of it all. And we also had, what I'm going to do, Karol, is I'm going to go through all the different content creators, and then you can chime in on like what you experienced as far as like, what they experienced and then what you did. That way you don't have to like go through your notes, and we can get through the show a little bit faster.
Okay.
So obviously we had you guys, if you guys were on the show the other day, we went through all of Inner City Press's live tweets. If you guys have not seen that, that is my last live. You guys can go into the lives and go check that out. It was like 4.5 hours, but I love Bocce because she's the one who told me to, or she's the one who tells her followers and stuff, like, you guys can always pause it. It's like binging a show, you can always come back to it. And it's true, because now, before I used to be like, oh, that show's like 3 hours, or that's like a 4-hour live, I'm not going to watch it. But ever since she said that, I was like, it seems like common sense that you could just pause it. But ever since she said that, I'm like, oh, so I'll start watching more long form content because I know I can come back to it.
Yes.
So yeah, you guys go check that out. So there's Inner City Press who was there. We also had Lauren Conlin, who she was over on Daily Dose of Donna's show. And I wanted to play this quick little clip because this seemed like the biggest thing to come out of the hearing. It says, Blake Lively's lawyers believe that Baldoni needed to get consent for every move his body made in scenes with her. So we're going to check this out really quick. It's a quick little minute clip.
When I'm trying to approach this from an unbiased perspective, but there's certain things, that Bach brings up where he said the whole dance scene where Blake felt like she was nuzzled and kissed and she's pulling away. And he's like, this is a scene, between two actors. Justin's also the director. Blake's side is saying that she didn't give consent to being kissed or nuzzled. And they're like, well, he's the director. It's okay for him to improvise this. And they're like, no, we need her to give consent. And then Lyman actually was like, so wait, what you're saying is that essentially every move a director makes should go to a jury? Like, that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, it sounds to me like Lyman brought up a really good point, which is when you're making a film and you have like a creative expression and it's like a dance scene or a sex scene or something where your body's moving, did he need consent to be like, I'm going to put my hand on this part of your back? I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder. I'm going to put my hand. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, it was. And I think that when Bach says, this is all small potatoes we're talking here, and he used that phrase, Lyman actually said, well, when you have a lot of small potatoes, that is enough. And you've got to look at the totality of the situation. So he pushed back on that as well. And then the judge is like, well, how do we know that, that it's so stupid, Donna. I'm literally like watching the judge like pull his hair out. I mean, it's just, it literally was so funny. Like, John, when I'm trying.
Okay, so it cuts off right there. But you guys should go check out Daily Dose of Donna's. She had her on her show, and I'm going to link, honestly, because of the coffee stuff, I totally spaced it. I have all the videos and everything mentioned here with all the creators. Instead of you just, going to go follow the creators, I actually have the specific videos with the MSJ content because I want it to be as easy for you guys as possible to get to all the content regarding the MSJ hearing from all these other content creators. So I'll have that in the comments as soon as the live ends. I mean, not in the comments, but in the description as soon as the live ends for you guys, including this video. So Karol, do you feel like the judge was kind of like that? Like, kind of like, ugh, like, what are we doing here type of thing? And also, I did see that some of the other creators were all in consensus that he pushed back on both sides. So while it says here that he was like, what do you mean should consent be given? You know, where you thought the defense was winning. But then later he's like, oh, all these small potatoes. Seems like the small potatoes comment didn't land very well with him, right?
Yeah, let me just write this down. I'm going to read a little bit of it. Let's see. I mean, I know that the people also kind of didn't really like that argument because it felt very shaky. However, like, it was way at the hearing to really say there is no question of fact. It is small, and that was their way of conveying it. So let's see.
Someone said, if everyone gave consent, Chris, good morning, Chris, there may be so many lawsuits in acting. And that's what my show's going to be about tonight. We're going to explore all of that, Chris. So
yeah, the court said one reason maybe because that the test is for me to look at the totality of the circumstances, and a whole bunch of little things can add up to be a big thing, right? So that was the thing after the small potatoes comment.
So then that's where people said that he might have gone, like, you know, pushing back on them, like, okay, don't just think that these are all little things. If you take them all together, they could be bigger things. Did you feel like the judge was kind of like over it, or could you not read the judge very well? Because I felt like Lauren was kind of one of the only ones who voiced that the judge was kind of over it. A lot of the other creators were saying it was hard to read him.
Yeah, I really just saw him. I think it was someone at the courthouse that said, like, oh, it's kind of his job to play devil's advocate with the arguments, and I think he did a really good job with it. I think he's very wise on how he's going to approach this. So let's see what he says. He did say, let's see. This is what he said that I guess made people think that, you know, he was leaning towards Lively, because it says, let's assume hypothetically the facts establish that when few of the women, and it's not just Miss Lively, but a couple of others walked onto the set, and the men on set were constantly bantering, you look hot, you look sexy, only directed to the women, but that was banter every day, commenting on their clothes and how they look, and when they were coming into work, could that constitute a violation of FIHA and Title VII? And Mr. Bach said, yeah, but that's a completely different case. There's no evidence that anyone did that here.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the Me Too evidence type of stuff that they're trying to bring Isabela and Jenny here in a minute, and how that was also an argument that the Wayfair parties were saying that, you know, it's not the same accusations that they're accusing her of. So we'll get into those, but follow Lauren Collins. She's in the SDNY, just like Inner City Press. That's where they work out of. So they do like Luigi Mangione. She does a lot of like sports stuff. So make sure you guys give her a follow. And we're going to get into Clark. Reddit Clark, what? Reddit Clark had a really good, look at this. His notes were very thorough. He said he had like 20 pages. It seemed like everybody was saying they had about 20 pages of notes. Did you have a lot of notes?
I filled up this whole notebook.
Oh crap.
Like, yeah, this whole notebook has notes.
So it was a lengthy trial. It was funny because MSM was reporting it was 4 hours long. So I wonder if they were talking about the settlement after. But that was for Jones versus Abel. So I don't know why some outlets were talking about it was a 4-hour hearing. So anyways, he breaks down who was there: Gottlieb, Bruno, and Hudson versus Garofalo, Bach, and Shapiro. And who all was there. He names all the content creators there. I'm going to link this, like I said, after we're done, so you guys can go and read it. because I'm not going to read all of it. He says that Friedman was like, "Oh, you're Clark," so he recognized him. He was really flattered. Mitra was there, who was their lawyer prior to all of this. She's in a lot of the text messages. And so we'll get into the lawyer part here in the middle of the show. But what I loved about Clark's breakdown was the sexual harassment part right here, where he said, these are the 4 points. And I heard you say in someone else's live, Karol, that one of the things, I think it was Botchley's yesterday, or it might have been a different one. But anyways, where you said that what you liked about Lively's team was that they got to like the point, like this is the 4 things that, you know, are the incidents we're going after. These are the 2 things, whatever.
Yes.
And so it was easier to follow. So you were kind of saying like constructive criticism or positive feedback for the Wayfair parties to maybe like have that more, because
we're gonna, you know, the 4 points that they brought up, here are our counterpoints broken in X amount of points. You know, I think that that's going to be easier, because like a really good example is Clark's notes, right? Like what he took away was 4 points, and you won't forget that. So I think that's important for the hearing, for any future stuff, for hopefully Wayfair party hears that feedback and knows, like, break it down for people. Like, let me tell you why it isn't. Point 1, this, and point 2, this. I think it's going to help them, and if this does go to trial, that the jury can follow along.
So the 4 points are: Justin kissed and nuzzled her during the dance scene. Jamie peeped at her in the trailer. Jamie tried to show her a video, and she was violated during the birth scene filming. So these are the 4 alleged SH incidents. And they really focused, it's according to Clark, on the nuzzling and kissing from the dance scene. And even us, as we were watching it in real time, or not watching it, but, you know, watching the live tweets come in, we were like, dang, why did they keep talking about the dancing? For us, the dancing was over with a long time ago. It had been debunked, right? According to the footage. I know that she was saying in the footage, you obviously see her uncomfortable, but that's pretty subjective. Like, some people said she felt uncomfortable. Other people didn't see it at all. But that was the best that she could do. And at one point, Bach said, Your Honor, like, are we here because of kissing and nuzzling? I thought that was a really good one, because it puts it in the judge's head, like, what's a jury gonna think, like, in the economy right now, and like getting people away from their jobs to travel and stuff, like, over. That's the way I saw it. When I heard it, I was like, dang, that is true, because I can't imagine a judge would want to bring in a jury for like this, you know, like, people have jobs, they have to feed their families, like a whole month off work, you know what I mean? What did you think about that nuzzling part?
I think that the way they posed it was like, that they nuzzled and had, you know, what did they said, had his hands all over without consent. Like they kept drilling that in, and the judge was like, is there any room for creativity, improvisation? And Hudson was like, nope, you got to talk about it beforehand. And I'm like, the reality is that's not Hollywood, right? Like, that's not Hollywood. And they also, the judge asked, there was a part that the judge asked, like, what did he say? I think it was, he says, you know, remind me what, you know, again, Ezra Hudson was trying to make sure that this goes to trial. So she said, what would a reasonable person in her shoes feel? I think a reasonable person in her shoes won't feel that, but well, she said that's for a jury to decide. And so that's what she was trying to say. She's like, and we have that there is a consent and that there is physical touching, and the statute makes clear that physical touching without consent is something that is a violation of the provisions. And then the court, you know, the Judge Lyman asked her, remind me what the evidence is. Is the biting of the lip and the caressing? And this time they did not bring up the biting of the lip. So maybe they're changing that, because he's like, he leaned in and kissed her. And I think it's when he leaned in and kissed the forehead. If you remember the dancing scene, he goes like this, kind of like puts his lips like right there. Because I think had he kissed her lips or anything, they probably would have made that really graphic, and they didn't mention that. So now they're taking away the biting and just talking about he leaned in and kissed her.
And I honestly don't think their lips ever touched, because I think it was like the almost
No.
kiss.
No, it doesn't. And
she does give consent to the almost kiss. She goes, we watched it actually on the last live while we were waiting for some more tweets from Inner City Press. I pulled up the dance video, and she goes, I know Bocce was in here. She's like, I didn't say that, because somebody in the chat said that she had said that Blake had said something, but it was actually Justin. But if you listen to it, Justin says, yeah, we can do an almost kiss. And she goes, yeah. And then like 2 seconds later, she's like, but we should still talk. So I was like, what about the yeah? Wouldn't that be consent for the almost kiss?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, I think a reasonable jury is going to say, yeah, that the way that they're trying to pose this is like he touched her in a variety of ways. If you look at the video, he touches her hand, her waist, as if in dancing, right? He moves her hair off the shoulder. That's barely any touching. And it's like, if the judge finds that to be in character stuff, to be SH, that he's going to have way more cases on his hands in Hollywood.
And that's what that's the chatter. That's why I wanted to do an episode on that, because one of the biggest things to come out of it was this SH stuff. And because of the fact that Judge Lyman's brother, Doug Lyman, is in the film industry, he understands the film industry. So I believe it might have been maybe nagging LG. I watched so many creators, so sorry if I'm not giving credit to who actually said it, but one of the creators had said that the Judge Lyman actually being brothers with Doug is actually a good thing. You know how we kept saying, oh, it's a bad thing. Well, in this case, it's a good thing, because he understands the nuances of the film industry and what, improv entails. Because at the point where you have to talk about it, it's no longer improv. That is actual, it's scripted or talked about prior. It's not improv. Improv by definition is doing it on the spot, right? So Clark continues to say that they really didn't get into specifics about how the birth scene constituted sexual harassment. So they did get into the trailer stuff. Anything on your notes that you have on the trailer stuff or on the Jamie stuff?
Yeah. So remember, it is Hudson's job to create dispute. So she was saying there's a dispute of fact as to what happened in the trailer. And what I did like about Bach's argument, he said, and no reasonable jury could find that someone that said, I know you're not trying to cop a look, all of a sudden now thinks that is SH. So a reasonable jury wouldn't find that to be SH, because she even knew that him looking her in the eyes was not SH then. Let me see. So it says here, Miss Lively has effectively admitted that subjectively at the time, she knew he was not trying to cop a look. That's not disputed. That's in the 56.1 statement. Again, Bach is trying to take it back to the facts, back to the things that they don't fight about, things that are not disputed. And she says, that's in the 56.1 statement. I know you were not trying to cop a look. They don't dispute that. That was her own subjective perception at the time, that he wasn't trying to glance at her because she was nude or because she was a woman.
I mean, that's a good argument. I mean, they keep moving the goalposts, because we're going to get into the whole Sigrid of it all. I keep calling her Siegfried. It's Sigrid. But they went from he looked at her to the language, and I want to still do an episode with Karol on semantics because I think she taught English or something, maybe. I don't remember exactly what she taught, but I wanted to do an episode on semantics with this whole case because there's so many examples of the wording. They went from looked at her to gawked at her to now in the latest with Sigrid, it's stared at her. And if you remember, even the makeup artist and the hairstylist said that the interaction was a real quick interaction. This wasn't like he stared at her for a whole minute or anything like that. It was a quick, they caught him glancing. And I still have to sleuth this out a little bit better, and maybe I'll do that before the show tonight. But I want to sleuth out this trailer incident because from the depositions, what I gathered was that there was some kind of mirror involved. That Jamie was looking at the wall, but she was looking in the mirror. And so I'm wondering if there was like another mirror and they caught eyes in the mirror, or if he turned around and looked at the mirror and saw her through the mirror, because her chair, according to Blake Lively's testimony, was facing the mirror. And like I said, I want to do like an entire episode on just Jamie, because there's also Vivian Baker saying that she put the hair cape over. And then the makeup artist says that she took a little like towel and put it over her. So either way, what did he actually see? Naked legs? Like, remember naked legs from when they said? Because that's what they actually said. That was one of the things I captured from your notes when they were talking about the birthing scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
They used the term naked legs.
Naked legs. I couldn't find it in my notes, but I'm like, I remember because that stuck to me because Lively would call her feet naked when they weren't wearing socks. I just have never heard anyone say that ever. Mm-mm. You know, if you're not wearing socks or something, or you're just walking around the house and saying, "Oh, my feet is naked," like that's odd.
You say bare feet or your bare legs.
Bare legs, but they call it naked, I think, to make it more graphic or more, to help proper open.
So anything else on the SH stuff? I know the consensus for a lot of people were like, if he does roll on the dance and the birthing scene, because obviously that was in the film, as part of like the filming, like, okay, she felt uncomfortable. It says she asked for a blanket. She got a blanket. Not as quickly as she wanted to, but in her deposition, it seems like she got the blanket. She wasn't denied the blanket. That's what I'm saying. It's one thing if she had actually been forced to film it nude, suggesting that, hey, maybe it should go like this, and her not doing it. There's nothing illegal about that. So on those two, it could set precedents. And then on the Jamie stuff, do you think that will go to a jury, or do you think those, because I feel like 1 and 4 will definitely not go to a jury?
I think that the judge was asking about like the contract and how to reconcile that. I don't know if, Nag mentions a lot, like it's better for him to try to find a way to get rid of it based on legality of the MJOP, right? And so maybe it all goes away with that. We'll have to see. I don't think he showed he was leaning one way or the other. I think he was, to me, it did feel a little bit more like him poking holes in Wayfarer's arguments than he did on the Lively's. However, I just think Lively's team was responding to the stuff, like for example, about the where is the line and can someone improvise, and like Ezra said it without any hesitation, like, no, you can't improvise without consent. And I'm like, then that really defeats the improvisation. But she would just respond like, no, that's not.
A lot of people thought Ezra did pretty good considering the crap, like, she had to handle, that she went up there and straight face, like, handled it.
That was the comment I was looking for. She just like straight faced some of the things. Even like here, I wrote down on this point, let's see if I could find it again. So they are the Lively team is trying to argue that the rider, the 17-point provisions, is independently enforceable because the consideration that it's supported by is a forbearance, and the forbearance to not move forward with a claim, it's to not move forward with the formal HR process. All right, that's what he said is the consideration. Then the judge said, is there evidence that your client, as consideration for the CRA, agrees to forbear from asserting a claim of SH? And Gottlieb said, yes, it's undisputed. It's in page 55 of our opposition. And then Judge Lyman says, aren't we here, in fact, because your client is asserting claims of SH and that predated the CRA? So they were, I mean, they said a lot of things with a straight face, and they ended up being funnies in the court.
And one of the things that also came up from all the creators was that Judge Lyman knew his shit. Like, he wasn't just like, oh, the clerk's probably reading it for him and he's like, doesn't know. He knew his cases. And in fact, a case law that I think Garofalo was bringing up, he was already like, okay, I already know that one. So
Yes.
he already
Yes.
researched the most recent case on that. So basically, the contract was the second biggest point here, because if there is no contract, then she's not an employee, then there's no claims under FIHA. And that's what all the creators were talking about prior to the motion, right? Clark says that she was asked a question 3 times, which was evidence examples of Wayfair waiving the necessity of signing the contract, and that she didn't really answer it. She talked about case law, not this case, but he gave up asking her. Both parties agreed that she was paid. I sensed Lyman leaning towards the offer letter being the operational contract.
I sensed that too.
Next part. Is that what you also sensed?
Yeah. Because that's here's what they're trying to argue. And I think that that's a really good point. Lively's team is saying the CRA is operable on its own. It is an enforceable contract on its own. And the judge is like, how? He's like, because Miss Lively exchanged the formal SH complaint, and because she gave that up, that is consideration, and that makes that contract valid. And then the judge is like, but isn't that why we're here? Because she didn't give that up. And so if we're there because she didn't give that up, then how can that their one argument of why it is valid be real or be right, or be something that the court acknowledges as correct or sides with them on? So I don't think they're going to get over that. And I think they were trying to make it a matter of like, well, Wayfair paid the higher amount, and now that means the ALA is enforceable. And Lyman definitely pushed back on that.
Just like it feels like Lively's team always does like mental gymnastics to get to, like, you can get there, but you have to do so much mental gymnastics to try and get there, and then it still doesn't make sense. So that's what it seems like they might have been doing in court, and Lyman clocked them and had the right questions to narrow it down and be like, no, exactly what are you trying to say? Okay, and so then he says that Popcorn Planet also pulled this out about the offer letter. Was there any place where Wayfair did not honor their obligations to the offer letter? This was a big one that I saw creators pointing out. Also, the part where Lyman's asked if she was ever told no on her request. So what was the consensus there? It seems like Clark says that he saw Lyman also nodding a bit when they were talking about she can't have it both ways. She can't be an independent contractor and an employee. Did you notice anything like Judge Lyman agreeing, or were you too busy taking notes? Because some people were too busy taking notes. They didn't get to see reactions and stuff.
And I was really far away. I was in the back row, so it was really hard to see his head. Yeah. His head.
But that was the other big one. Did you have anything to add to the whole part where she was like, where he was asking, like, has she ever been told no?
Yeah. He asked, did she ever not get something that she wanted? And And instead of just saying no, Ezra said something like, the evidence show, no, the record won't show that, or something like that. So
that
she
the
did get
record won't
everything
show
she
it.
wanted.
Yeah, and okay, so let's continue with choice of law. That was the California extraterritorial stuff. I just keep wondering if the Vin Diesel's case is going to come up, because I remember that was also like where there was harassment that happened in Georgia, but then she tried to file in California. Because here they're trying to say, why would California law apply here in New York? It says Lyman challenged Hudson why she needed California FIHA if she was suing under federal Title VII. She responded that damage awards are much higher for FIHA, points for honesty. And a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that was like a funny moment where she was just like completely honest, like, well, we'd get more money. But I don't think that landed well with the court of public opinion, because it just shows Blake being money hungry. Like these things are put into place for, people who like FIHA and the federal title, like it's for actual hostile work environment. You're like, oh, I just wanted to get more money, so I try to do both, and
Yeah.
it didn't really land well with the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And then we had the defamation claims, which were the Friedman stuff. They spent quite a bit of time on that. I feel like most of the time was the defamation and the dance scene, because we got a lot of tweets from the defamation part. And we'll get into it, why they cited Trump versus Karol and all that stuff. But what did you have in your notes during the defamation portion? Or what did you...
Let's see.
Because here Clark is saying that it says, what about when Lively, they actually did play that card in court. Shapiro referred Lyman to the brief of a dozen defamatory things Lively's lawyer said of Justin in the press. She started to read examples, but Lyman assured her that he would review it from the brief. So she started to try and read examples of what it was.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, CJ. What were you saying?
The defamation part. Did you have anything in the notes?
Yeah, I that part made me a little concerned, because I think that the judge, let me search my notes. He said something about like that went okay, so he said, I mean, at least with the respect of the first two, there's evidence in the record that your client understood that Miss Lively genuinely believed she was a victim of SH. So that part does concern me a little bit. So the judge is saying, what I gather is that your client understood that this person genuinely believed. And I don't get that from the evidence, but that is what Judge Lyman said here. He said, your client understood that Miss Lively genuinely believed she was a victim of SH. And I just think they need to drive that she didn't genuinely believe it. It was convenient for her to get all this other stuff. That is what she wanted out of that.
But are they referring to that text message where he says, and she's one of those person that genuinely believes she's in the right?
I don't know, because he didn't specify, right? So, so he's saying about, about the statements. He's like, so some statements include that the lawsuit was another desperate attempt of Miss Lively to fix her negative reputation, and that she acted with the sole intent to ruin the lives of innocent individuals. And then that's the quote of Friedman. And then he says those kind of statements go beyond simply denying the allegations. They go beyond saying Miss Lively is a liar. They make comments about her reputation and her motivation. They're no different than Karol v. Trump.
Yeah, so we're going to get into why that case, because there was a couple things that people were wondering what it meant. So go check out Clark's post. Please give it an upvote let's try and get him to 100 upvotes. His content is really good. He's in the city. He's going down there to get CDs and stuff for us. So make sure y'all support him over on Reddit. He said rightfully he wasn't really too into the spoilation portion. It kind of lost him. So he was going to leave it up to other content creators. But again, go check that out for him. And we're going to move into Court of Random Opinion. Lauren Nighty, Lethal Lauren. I don't know how to tag her because she's got different Lethal Lauren 904. She's got different tags everywhere. But the showdown between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's attorneys in court. We are going to get into who all those attorneys were here in the second half. But I'm just going to play this little tiny bit of Bach and then get your feedback on whether you thought Bach was the right one for this argument, because I feel like most of the content creators all felt that, nothing against Bach, but that he may not have been the right person. So let me just play this quick little clip.
Impression of him at all. There was nothing about him that like put me off in any way. So I want to be clear about that. Nothing that I inherently disliked about him. Right. And I understand that this was a hearing. This wasn't like a jury trial. There was no jury there. Right. And this was mostly about like law stuff. But I did make a note that if this were to go to trial, I would definitely have a female lawyer present some of the things that he was saying. I felt it would come off better that way. Not because anything was wrong with that guy at all whatsoever, but just like I was just thinking, like, if this was in front of a jury, definitely gonna come better from a female attorney, to be honest.
So she goes deep into all that, and this is her small little recap. She's still going through more of her notes and stuff. So make sure you guys subscribe over to her YouTube, as well as on her X, where she keeps you guys updated on what's coming up and all that. So you guys can finish watching her video. But did you agree on that as far as with Bach, bring him being the voice for the sexual harassment stuff in the beginning?
When the argument was happening, I didn't feel one way or another. It was just him presenting the facts. However, there was two other young ladies there that I also met just through, chit-chatting with people, and they also felt the same way. So if more than one person's feeling that way, then perhaps that is good feedback to allow a woman to present that portion of it.
Yeah, I believe NAG and LGA also may have had the same. Like I said, I get confused because I watch so many, but I know I heard it from more than one creator. It wasn't just Lauren and some citizens over on Reddit as well. So positive feedback for the Wayfarer parties. I feel like from the citizens, they're like, hey, this is what was gathered, and maybe it should have been argued by someone else. I always thought it's going to be like Shapiro versus Hudson, but I heard that Shapiro was really shaky, and that surprised me because I feel like she's like kind of a badass, and I didn't get to see any feedback from like the Diddy trial as far as like what she looked like or how she argued or whatever. And I don't think she argued too much inside the court, but it really surprised me that she was like shaky or nervous. But apparently all the lawyers were a little nervous, right?
Yeah, she did seem a little bit nervous in how she was arguing, especially, I'm telling you, since she was arguing the stuff about Friedman, and the judge was like, I think his statements go beyond that. I mean, you're already on defense there, right? If the judge says, I think they go beyond that, then you got to defend and be ready to defend that. I think from what we've heard, right, appellate attorneys are very expensive and they're very high, just kind of high on the totem pole. So I think the expectation of how like they should present and how they should articulate should be way more crispier than crisp than it was. And so yeah, I did feel that.
Okay, so we're gonna get into Popcorn Planet. As we get into the second half of the show, we're just finishing all the creator stuff, and then we're gonna get into some citizen questions that we were gonna answer on what different things meant in the hearing and stuff. But okay, so we have Popcorn Planet here. It's Andy Senior who was down there. It says, live from New York was a success. We had so many of you tune into the coverage of the case. Thank you all. They got an exclusive from Brian Friedman. You guys see here, this is Fritz right here.
No,
in the
that's
flesh.
Bach.
Oh, that's Bach. Sorry, this is Bach. My bad. This is Bach right here. And so it was Bach and Brian. And then we also have footage from Garofalo, as well as Brian Friedman, which we'll pull up here when we get to the lawyer part. But he basically tells him he's a handsome guy, which is so funny because he kept saying that everybody said that he looked way better in person. And I heard like all the creators are like gorgeous in person. I heard Katie has like beautiful blue eyes in person. Karol's hair is so beautiful in person. So all the creators were for sure talking about like, oh my gosh, they everybody was so good looking.
You look handsome.
I'll take it. There he is. There's the team.
That's it. You look more handsome than Harvey's looking these days. So
Whoa!
I don't want to look like Harvey.
Careful.
Be on me.
I careful. He did not say it was hot, chat, so we're okay. Thank you guys.
So there he is. He took us around. He took you guys around took us around the courthouse there. And there's LGA and NAG, and there's Karol there with Reddit Clark. I know that we talked a lot about the all black fashion yesterday on Botches. You were talking about it, but look at the creator fashion. It was super cute. I guess Katie had on overalls, and I just couldn't get over Clark's like green. I love that green outfit. It was too cute. And then there's Lauren with her headphones, and there's other pictures, but since I don't have Facebook, I can't access them. So yeah, you guys, if you have Facebook, go check them out. And then we also had, while he was in there, we're going to go back to docket updates. Look at this beautiful website. Can we just give docket updates some more flowers? We have her here in the flesh. More flowers. Drop the link. Can the mods drop that link? You can go and look into other court cases here at docket updates. And the reason why I pulled it back up is because Popcorn Planet, if you come down here, while he was in the courtroom, had a new filing submitted. Let me see if I can pull that up. Had a new filing submitted in the subpoena. He's still in subpoena gate. He's the last of the dime breed. And it was the response in opposition of his objection. And it came with 5 exhibits. The first one was basically just stuff that he had put out, reaching out to, the main players of the case. And it does say, like, as a journalist. So apparently the argument is that because he provided that and said that that wasn't like privileged, that then he lost privilege for the other stuff. So I'm not too sure on this case because normally I'm not a lawyer, right? And I rely on like the other lawyers who are doing the case to like kind of help, like, teach me what's going on. And, a lot of the lawyers aren't following this case. So it was really hard for me to decipher what was really going on for you guys. So just go ahead and go to docket updates and you guys can read it and maybe, help me out on what exactly this means for his case. I don't know if he's already done a video on it because he said he had to read it and digest it, but you get all the transcripts from when his lawyers, that's what the other 4 exhibits are. So from when his lawyers were arguing the case and stuff, you get to go read all the transcripts and all of that. So this is the Popcorn Planet case here, and you can just read the arguments, all that stuff. And then make sure to go over to Popcorn Planet for any MSJ hearing coverage he's got over there. He was also on Billy Bush. So you guys can go check out Hot Mics with Billy Bush. I really like him. He has Elsrich and Zach on a lot. And so he had him on and he spilt tea on the MSJ hearing there. We also had Little Girl Attorney. So I don't know if the mods can drop her link down at the down in the chat. Little Girl Attorney and NAG both did a video. So it's on both their channels. If you guys can go and give both of them a like and boost in the algo. Like I said in my last stream and the last live, that we should be boosting the MSJ hearing content because obviously MSM is just reporting, the very basic stuff. And the creators that were actually there have the first-hand look. They were observers. And it's really important that we, like their stuff, boost them in the algorithm so it gets out there and people can, find more information rather than what was just put into regular MSM. So we had both of them. Their live was really cool. It was a 2-hour long live. and they mostly focused on like the legal stuff, like the legal cases that were name dropped, how the lawyers did and all that stuff. And then at the end, they had Katie in Kansas City at the end of their live, and she was explaining some of like the fashion and stuff too, and what she felt about the lawyers. So you guys can go and check that out on their streams. And then before I get into Katie's channel, who was the last of the creators that was there, this was some of the stuff that people were asking. What were some of these terms? There was a magic moment that happened that people were asking, like, what was the magic moment? Why did the judge say magic moment? There was the Trump versus Karol name drop, the Oakland Raiders. That was a lot in the stream yesterday. And then O'Connor and Gravelwick, I guess it said. And then the Me Too evidence. So we're going to get through each one, and then I'll ask Karol what she has in her notes and what she feels. So this was the magic moment. This is Katie and Casey's channel. If you guys, she has not dropped her MSJ stuff yet on her channel. She's still digesting it, so she still hasn't dropped a lot. Like I said, she's only been on LGA's channel, and then this was some of her thoughts on just this small portion. So give her a follow over there.
Okay, so the court said,
Sorry.
This is when the magic moment leading up to it, they were talking about the ALA contract and how they decided to pay Lively more money rather than less. So that means that they were operating from the ALA, not the offer letter, because the ALA has the higher amount than the offer letter. And otherwise, they would have acted in their own financial interest. And it says, the court, Judge Lyman says, I understand why they would give Wayfair the right to assume that your client had accepted the terms of the ALA. I mean, that's usually how partial performance works. You accept the benefit of a contract and you're bound by the terms of it. It is not usually the other way around, where you give somebody the benefit and then because the person accepts it, you're binding them to everything else. And so then Gottlieb said, the question, Your Honor, is whether there's an indication that the execution condition was being treated as something that was enforceable, or whether the course of the performance that the parties exhibited suggested it's not. And then Judge Lyman interrupts and says, so tell me, at what point the ALA became enforceable? The actor loan ad agreement, right, became enforceable, because there are different versions of the actor loan out agreement. So what is the magic moment when it became enforceable? Mm-hmm. And then Gottlieb answers, I mean, we think it became enforceable the moment the parties started performing under the conditions under it, the latest. And then the court says, does that mean it's the first draft that was circulated when she started acting? And then he's like, Gottlieb said, well, when Miss Lively began to follow the conditions under the ALA, which would have been when filming began. Yes. And so then Judge Lyman says, so under that view, the negotiations that follow, they become negotiations about amendment. They don't become the contract is binding. That can't be right. So the judge was really looking for a point where he would say that this became enforceable, because they kept negotiating it. And they really couldn't say, because they landed on it became enforceable when she started acting. But then if it became enforceable when she started acting, then there was no point of the emails that follow that try to renegotiate it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, someone in the chat said she always wants it both ways. Absolutely. In every argument, it's always she wants both to exist. And you just can't, and it's not just in this aspect, it's in every aspect. I'm an employee, but I'm also a contractor. Yeah, no, it wasn't my
I can say sexy, but he can't say sexy. Like there's always like a
yes. I didn't want to cut. Sony wanted my cut. And it's like you see it that no, it isn't that way. So that is what the magic moment was about. The Raiders stuff, it came right.
We're gonna get
before
into
that
the
one.
Raider stuff, and I'll just, as we go through each point, I'll ask you. Let me just play this one from Katie Inc. You guys go give her a follow. Like I said, we're gonna play just a small little portion of her explaining that magic moment as well.
You gotta click the volume button, CJ.
Oh, is it not no volume? I might have lost audio. Hold on, y'all. Let me pull it back up. Thank you, Karol. Because I be just like playing it, and everyone in the chat is like, "There's no sound," and I don't even look at the chat. That is my Achilles heel of the show.
But there's like implied in fact contract, which I think other people have talked about before, where both parties like were acting as if the contract was in place, even though it wasn't signed. However, in order to have an implied effect contract, they need to establish when the assent was. So like when everybody was like, okay, I approve of this, and when that was going forward. And so that's when he was saying, when is this magic moment? Was it after the first draft? Was it after the second draft? Was it after she started getting paid? Was it after the movie was done filming? When was it, so that he can establish when that assent was?
So you guys can finish watching the rest of that video, and Karol had really detailed notes, so she explained it very well. And then we had what was O'Connor versus Gratwick. So that was a case where O'Connor depended. What was the Gravelwick? Sorry, I said Gratwick.
No, Grave Quick. I think it's Grave Quick.
Oh, so I put an extra L in there. My bad. O'Connor and Gravewick. Because the O'Connor decision was based on the Gravewick decision, and so he was trying to figure out which one he went through. I know that Nag basically says that she covers it in this video, which I'm going to tag at the bottom. This is a nerd out video, nerd alert, how case law works, and she goes into that case, O'Connor versus Gravewick, and what she says there. Sorry, let me pull it up. I think I took notes because I watched that video, and she basically says he cared because it's a published decision that the judge thought was important on issue, and it deals with the extraterritorial California, like basically the extraterritorial stuff. Lyman's antenna went up because both O'Connor and Wilson rely on Gravewick, a Ninth Circuit case for the proposition that California employment statutes generally do not apply extraterritorial unless specific conditions are met. Lyman is essentially asking, am I being asked to adopt a Ninth Circuit framework through the back door in an SDNY case? So that's how that applied. And if you guys want to get more into the legal stuff, because I watched the video twice and it still was, I was like, okay, wait, what? But she explains it both in her live with Little Girl Attorney, as well as in this video of how case law works. This is where she gets into a lot of the case law that was name dropped in the actual MSJ and all that stuff. And then we had the Oakland Raiders, the good old Oakland Raiders. What did you have on that? Because here we had this is when everyone's like, what's the Oakland Raiders have to do with it? This is the fact that Mr. Baldoni said he would give her 98% of what she wants shows that she did not have control. I'll turn it over to my colleague. And then he thought it was Aaron Nathan, but I think it was the other guy, Bruno. There is the issue of payment, including the Oakland Raiders. And so I looked it up and we found that it was mentioned here. The parties wish to confirm. So it had to do with her contract claims. And it says a party's conduct is so inconsistent with the intent to enforce a legal right. The intention to give up that right will be presumed, notwithstanding evidence that the party did not subjectively intend to relinquish it. So that is where it's mentioned. And basically, let me see. I took notes from Nag and them's live. Let me look. It had to do whether she got paid or not, something like that. Let me look. I'm trying to find my on it. When Lively's lawyer said Baldoni's was offering, let me look at my notes. Okay. It was when they were considering the offer letter versus the ALA. So I don't understand the argument per se, because even in my notes, I'm like, I took notes from when NAG was talking with LGA, but now I'm like, I can't make sense of them. Oakland Wayfair's payment and performance conclusively waived any execution condition. So Wayfair cannot now claim the ALA was unenforceable, and a jury has to decide that. So if that makes sense to anybody, what did you have on the Oakland Raiders stuff? Did you take any notes?
They said, okay, so there was 3 main points. Again, this is like another instance where they use points. 3 main points with respect to the contract. First, it's that the execution condition was waived in writing and through performance. So taking the performance first, this is where the Oakland Raiders stuff comes in. It's like there is a performance element that the court mentioned before, which is an issue of payment. That is the issue that is most significant, given that in the case law that we've cited, including Oakland Raiders Authority as well as Windancer versus the Disney, the fact that Wayfair decided to pay Lively more rather than less suggests that they believed that the ALA was enforceable. Otherwise, they would have paid less, according to their the offer. So they're trying to argue that
makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing about 98% is actually a different part of the argument. They were trying to say that because Wayfair gave Lively 98% of what she wanted, he asked, like, was there something that she did not get that she wanted? And they were like, no, there's no evidence of that. And so they said, but that in itself, this is what Ezra was saying, like that in itself shows that it wasn't hers to begin with, and that's why she's an employee, because it was Wayfair's to give 98%, but not.
So he kind of mixed two arguments back to back, but put them in the same tweet. That makes more sense, because I was like, wait, why does the 98? What does the 98% have to do with it?
Yeah, so the 98%, that's in another part of the argument. Let me see if I can find it. Oops.
I love your notes, so thank you so much. If you guys don't know, if you guys are just hopping on for the second hour of the show, docketupdates.com on YouTube, if y'all can drop the link. This is Karol from Docket Updates, and she is blessing us this morning. Normally we don't have guests in the morning, but she's blessing us with all her notes from the MSJ hearing and helping us as we go through all the other content creators who had notes and were there to observe. If you look at the ticker down below, you guys can see everyone that you can support. And then in the description, you'll be able to have the links to all the videos and everything where you can go and support all the creators. So go ahead, Karol.
So he said, this is what they said. Mr. Baldoni said that he would give her 98% of what she wants. Well, the fact that he had something to give her shows that she doesn't have control. And I'm like, please, lady, please.
I mean, but the fact that he had something to give her, but it's like, but he gave her all of it. So what do you mean? Then she has the control. Doesn't the control then change? I don't know.
Yes, and then they used the ballerina argument, and that's where I really liked Bach's argument, because he ended up being really, really strong with that, because he said, okay, so this is Bach using that argument back, and he's like, the case that Ezra quotes saying the dancer has some sort of like creative expression and in her dance, and even because she had that control over her own little dance part, that doesn't mean that she's a contractor. She was still an employee, right? So this is what Bach says to rebut that. He says, in the Marikova case, the prima ballerina had some control over her own dance part, yes, but She didn't get to edit it, control the production of the ballet, its publicity, its marketing, direct other dancers and stars, and have that level of control. And so he said also in that case, there was no evidence that she was being taxed or compensated in a way that was inconsistent with being an employee. Here, the record is clear. It's just one factor. It's not dispositive.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as we continue with the Me Too, that is our last one that people had questions on the Me Too evidence. Looky Lou, who has entered the chat and who was name dropped in the MSJ hearing. Miss Jenny Slate and Miss Ferrer. Is Isabela or Isabel? Isabella. I always confuse
It's not
her
important.
and Amanda Ferreira, because is it Ferrer and not Ferreira? I always get her name like you said, it don't matter. But so these two ended up in the MSJ hearing under the Me Too evidence that she's claiming that, they're a part of it because it's Me Too evidence. And Wayfair's lawyers were arguing that no, it's not Me Too evidence because they did not have the exact same interactions. And the judge seemed to agree on one thing. I saw that I extracted from some of the other creators' observations was that I believe the judge said something to the effect that if Blake Lively was not present during those interactions, that it wasn't like they couldn't consider it. And there was another thing that they said, oh, the Isabela thing. They ended up coming back and saying that Justin Baldoni has said it's hot to both her and Alex. And so there was nothing like, it wasn't gender based for him to say that was hot because he said it to a man too. And then with the Jenny stuff, they were basically kind of saying that it didn't pertain because it wasn't similar to her. So what did you have on Jenny and Isabela?
I am just laughing at the comments. I'm trying to hold it in.
Go for it. Is there a certain comment you want me to pull? Sorry, y'all, that I'm not pulling up comments. We have a really jam-packed show. And I'm
no worries. I just think they're like all three of them should be in jail.
All three of them should be in jail.
It's just funny. Jail expeditiously for all three of them. Okay.
Their names are Career and Over, and Lively.
I know. It was like, what is it? Isabel's. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Okay, so what did you have with? Can you give us more content on Isabela and Jenny?
As far as how they were brought up,
or any notes that you have on anything, that you can add more.
Okay, so it was pointed out to the judge that Lively didn't know about this during her employment, right? She knew about this down the line, or I guess during this lawsuit. So that couldn't be part of, her under her knowledge back then. And when the judge asked the Lively parties, what were the four instances, or what were the instances of SH while in their view she was employed, none of them included Jenny Slate or Isabela. It was, Blake Lively's four instances of things. There wasn't much mention about them other than the totality of the circumstances, and that's what the judge has to consider. If he's allowing it to move forward, I guess that would be part of it.
Okay. And I wanted to pull up this from Jenny, which wasn't pertaining to the MSJ hearing, but it says Jenny Slate and Blake Lively calling Justin volatile. So this is part of the unsealing, and I know I still probably have a tons more that I didn't cover in the Great Unsealing episode when we were doing the MSJ hearing, because more stuff, people have been uncovering more stuff. But I know I've talked about it on other shows. I believe I was on Colonel's the other night, and we talked about this. Lauren brought it up, actually, Court of Random Opinion. It says, also in the moment, it actually was strange. It was JB, something about sleeping in the bed together. And he said, So Jenny Slate basically gets this Airbnb, and she says that it was bad for sex. And it's all three of them probably hanging out somewhere, whatever. Jenny, Blake, and Justin. And she says, it's bad for sex. Jenny says it's bad for sex, and Baldoni says, oh yeah, terrible for sex. And Blake right here is saying it was so odd that he said that instead of just laughing like I did. So because Blake Lively just laughed at her saying it's bad for sex, and he said it's terrible for sex, all of a sudden he's the bad guy. And if you scroll up here, Jenny's apologizing for her remark because she's saying, I'm sorry, I don't have any judgment. It's just that this is what works for me. And I'm sorry if that upsets you. That this wasn't the setting for this kind of remark. And essentially what Blake Lively says, it's like, it's okay because woman to woman, it's like a safe space. It says right here, the truth is dynamics are different with women and men, and there is a safety with women that there isn't with men. Please don't stress. So it was just really rich to read that. And I really hope that the judge like clocks this, or like it's one of his main things, because right then and there, I feel like all of Jenny's stuff in Blake's, the sexy comments should go out the window. Like I get that the judge did say in the beginning that like, what if a bunch of men come in and call girls sexy or whatever, but like this was the type of language that they were used to. And Blake is basically saying like, because you're a girl and I'm a girl, then it's okay for us to be like, oh, haha, that's bad for sex. That's not any like, wrong setting, wrong place, time, whatever. But if Baldoni says it because he's a guy, then it's automatically bad. So I wanted to pull that up for you guys and discuss that. What do you think about Jenny Slate's claims? Like, she obviously in her deposition says she doesn't want none of this. Like, she didn't want to be part of the lawsuit as a plaintiff. Do you think like her testimony, like, are they bringing her up? It seems like
I think they would need to.
Sigrid said that they were only going to bring up, or that the star witness was going to be Blake. She doesn't talk about who else is going to be there, but it seems like this was an article posted by No Filter with Zach back in February of last year, saying that they were going to be testifying. So what was your feeling? What do you think? If it goes to trial, do you think they'll be a part of it?
I think she said it clearly. Her problems were resolved. I think as were any other problems were resolved. The only one that was creating stir and mess was Blake Lively. I think she was the one trying to create stir because it suited her. This narrative of there's an issue, right? That fell off, right? No, you said it is fine, but when he says it, it's wrong because it kept alive whatever she wanted to keep alive. You could just see there's a Mexican quote that's like, you don't take a step without like knowing where the foot's gonna land. That was like her. I don't think she did those just to make Jenny feel comfortable. I think there was things that she wanted to get out of that, like a reaction, the narrative, again, keeping that narrative alive. So
okay, so now we're gonna take a little side quest before we get into the lawyers, because guys, I was gagged when I read this. Okay, guess who has entered the chat? I'm including this in this section because we're talking about Me Too, and how they want to bring in Jenny and Isabela as Me Too evidence, when it's like it wasn't Me Too, it was completely different than what you had experienced. But look at this, y'all. So there is a new movie in Sundance called Silenced. So I don't know if this is hot tea straight off the press, or if, there's other creators. This is the first time I've heard it. It's a movie and film it says, Silence is directed by Selena Miles. It mainly follows international human rights lawyer Jennifer Robinson and her arduous fight against the weaponization of defamation laws to silence survivors. Survivors, okay? So this is what's in the press right now. I mean, it's probably SEO and stuff. That's how I found it when I Googled Blake Lively. This film also examines high-profile cases like those of Amber Heard and Blake Lively, and also explores notable European cases, featuring influencers like the Tate brothers to highlight anti-woman rhetoric, underscoring how efforts are made to silence women and deter future disclosures. It offers a general overview of male-dominated government and laws predominantly made by men. It highlights the frustration with the efforts and loopholes used to prevent men from facing consequences. The disappointment is intensified by female lawyers going above and beyond to defend these men, which further undermines justice for women in a system not designed to support them. Such actions feel like twisting the knife, especially when women seek justice. So I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but I'm going to pull up this one over here where it says Amber Heard returns in this doc. I don't understand that it could get so much worse for me. So if we scroll down, Amber's saying, this is not about me. I've lost my ability to speak. And this is such an oxymoron. I'm like, these women are so crazy the way they talk. I'm not here to tell my story. I don't want to tell my story. In fact, I don't want to use my voice anymore. That's the problem. So she's basically saying, like, I'm not here to talk, but I'm talking, but I don't want to talk because I'm silenced, but I can't talk. Like, I had to read it like 3 times to be like, wait, is that an oxymoron? So yeah, that's crazy. Have you heard any of this? It says in the post.
No.
We saw women break the cultural silence, speaking out publicly about gender-based violence. What we then saw is their alleged perpetrators bringing defamation claims against them. This is not true. It's defamatory, and I'm going to sue you for a lot of money. But it's like, but with like, it was though, like, it's like Blake Lively. I don't know. She's trying to attach herself. Here's the words Me Too. Are they trying to revive the Me Too movement with this documentary? It seems like it's just all the key words. There's Me Too, there's survivors, there's all this stuff, and it's Amber Heard. And it says that she's moved on to a career in theater, ending on a hopeful note. It gives me, and this sounds so much like something Blake would say. And did you know that Warren Zavala, I don't know if he still represents her, but at one point I saw an article that said that Warren Zavala was moving to WME and he was taking his clients with him, and Amber Heard was one of them. So I don't know if that's still the case, if they're still client, but it says, it gives me strength seeing other people take on the fight. Women brave enough to address the imbalance of power. Looking at my daughter's face. Where have we heard daughter? Sigrid name dropped the daughter. And then remember Blake Lively also name dropped her daughters as well. In that interview, I think it was Kimmel. As she grows up and slowly starts to walk around in this world, I believe it can do better. So what do you think about all that, Karol? Like, this is your first time seeing it, but
it's wild. I definitely won't be watching.
Definitely not going to be watching, but I thought I was like literally gagged. I thought that was so crazy. I'm like, are they trying to do SEO with this? Like, you know, Blake is talking about her daughter, but her daughter was allowed to, you know, they talk about this patriarchal and the men running things. Well, her husband was one of those men that made a 7-year-old little girl in the day of AI and bodied voice actors. You know what I mean? Like, there's E.G. Daily who did the Rugrats voice and stuff. Like, you can have a grown person do the voice, especially if the little girl was in a costume. But let's take care. Let's make sure our daughters have a great future. It baffles me for sure. So there was that little tea. But back to the show, Lawyer Showdown. It was Bach, Shapiro, and Garofalo on one side, Hudson, Gottlieb, and Bruno. Here we have Lauren Conlon has Matthew Bruno coming out, and actually LGA and NAG both said that Bruno did pretty well. He was one of the lawyers that went over the time, one of Lively's lawyers, but that they thought he did really well. It was crazy how much praise Gottlieb, Ezra, and Bruno all got from the pro Baldoni creators. They were like, you know, they held their own. But here's Bruno coming out. You guys wanted to just see.
Hi there.
Is that
Do you think this is going to go to trial?
Is this Ezra here?
Yeah, that's Ezra.
Okay, that's Ezra.
How do you feel like it went?
Kind of young, and they didn't talk to anybody. But they said that they were probably instructed to do that because they had a lawyer there to talk. Really quick, I'm going to show you guys. Ellen Garofalo was there. There she is. And Katie and Casey said she was wearing some cute Chanel shoes. They were like, dang, she still got it. And it's so funny because on Reddit, why is there so many people trying to like flirt with Ellen on Reddit? People were like, I'd let her step on me with them heels. And it was just the most hilarious thing. I'm like, dang, Friedman has stands. Fritz has stands. Now Ellen has stands. It's so funny. And so here is Brian Friedman there. And then we're going to get into the Sigrid McCawley of it all. But before we do, we're going to go into the scores. So you can tell me whether this is possibly accurate or not. But I basically took all of the transcripts from the YouTube videos that I just showed y'all, as well as Clark's summary and any observations from everybody, and put it into ChatGPT and asked it to, based on all the observers, to give the lawyers a score. So here are the scorecards just for fun. It seemed like plaintiffs were really strong on narrative, command of the record. They knew the record well. The case law position was not very well. Handling judicial pushback was also not. It says key hits were that they had a clear storyline. I know Karol said that as well, right, Karol? That they had like more clear, concise, organized presentation, familiar with factual timeline. Mrs. says difficulty tying facts to legal threshold. Protected activity definition collapsed under pressure when they were asked what the protected activity was. Subjective prong possessions weakened their harassment claim, and there was an over-reliance on aggregation and cultural framing. So overall, they were strong storytellers, but struggled as a doctrinal closer. So their close was not very strong. Then we had defense. And so look at 5 stars, 5 stars. Seems like, obviously, you know, we're pro Baldoni, so maybe the observers were more like they probably did better. Repeatedly pull the court back to legal standards, emphasize industry consequences effectively. This is the talk about, like, you know, does this mean that every single thing is going to have to be given consent or whatever? Like, you know, they brought up what it could mean for the industry. Strong handling of harassment and employment law frameworks. Key misses, MJOP evidentiary exclusions not crisply itemized. I guess in the end they were asked, what would they consider in the MJOP? What would they ask you not to consider? And I know LGA said that the best answer would have been like, well, it's an MJOP, which we shouldn't consider any evidence. But they ended up pulling, I guess they got taken aback by being asked that, but they ended up pulling out 2 things, which were, what were the 2 things? Now I'm misremembering. It was the birthing in California. And what was the other one? Do you remember, Karol? Is Karol there? Is she not there? Oh, we might have lost Karol. Oh, there she is.
What was the question?
The question was, do you remember what was the second thing that was discussed on the MJOP? When they asked what evidence should be excluded at the end, remember they asked him the question?
Oh,
One
yeah.
was birthing in California. What was the second one?
Hold on.
Because I can't remember the second
What
one.
did
It was the member where, like, they tried, I believe it was all surrounding Jamie Heath, right? Like new allegations that were not included.
okay, which one did you say already?
The birthing one, it was like like she was birthed into the film, or what was it? It was like the part where she says something about being birthed, and they were trying to use it as like he made that statement in California.
Let's see. I'm trying to.
Sorry. I'm
Okay,
putting-
so we want the allegations. So the court said, if you want me to disregard something, you have to tell me specifically what it is you want me to disregard.
Mhm.
And she said, we want the court to disregard those allegations, the allegations relating to the alleged retaliatory conduct that took place allegedly in California, which is defined in anything but general terms. And we have the issue of Mr. Heath from California telling Miss Lively, this is the call that I was just referring to, that it strains credibility to argue that the term birthing, strike that. He mentions to Miss Lively, they're looking forward to birthing, to the birthing of a film. And Miss Lively now takes the position that that reference to birthing somehow plays into her SH claims. That was it.
So those were the 2. So they said that some of the attorneys thought that they missed, you know, well, little girl attorney was like, I would have answered, you know, they shouldn't consider anything because it's an MJOP. Assume too much shared.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
understanding.
mean, that's what she was saying, but he's like, no, tell me specifically what you mean.
Mhm.
And because
Well, she kept trying to say that, and he was like, no, not taking that for an answer. Is that what happened?
yeah, so he said some of that. Okay, so he said some of that is encompassed Tell me what pieces of evidence. Garofalo says, I understand the position. They have asked to incorporate all of the evidence in the summary judgment motion and the MSJ arguments. So that's where she was saying, like, they've asked you to consider everything in the MJOP and everything in the MSJ. And then the court says, or Judge Lyman says, some of this is encompassed within the complaint. What is it that you say is not encompassed within the complaint? And then she's like, not encompassed within the complaint are the allegations primarily in the opposition filed by Ms. Lively relating to the new conduct by Mr. Heath. For example, there's an allegation that Mr. Heath, prior to Ms. Lively's retention, made the decision relating to whether or not to have a separate HR unit on set on the East Coast. So they're saying that decision, and that in fact that decision was taken in California. There are a number of factual allegations, and then the court said, the reason I asked you to be specific because I can come through it, but you are counsel, so you made this argument. Help me with what it is specifically. And then that's where he said that we have the argument that Mr. Heath engaged in some kind of conduct decisions, pre-productions, even before Ms. Lively was engaged, relating to HR. And that opened the door to that somehow opened the door to SH. That those were Miss Lively's claims.
And they were saying those are the two things they would consider to.
That's what they were telling the judge. Like, that wasn't in the original complaint. That's not something that should be considered. So there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so there are references in some of the opposition papers to the conversations they may have had between parties prior to the litigation that are not mentioned in the complaint. And the complaint says what it says. It says a lot of words and there's a lot of pages, but the extrinsic evidence, it's been raised. I know the court's asking for specifics, but what they're asking you to do, and then that's where he's like, if you want me to disregard something, you have to tell me specifically what you want me to disregard. And so that's when
those are detailed notes. I appreciate that. Like, because it adds more context. Like, even watching, it was so funny as I watched each creators, I started to like piece together more and more. Because Inner City Press, obviously, we get tiny little bits and pieces. And then so with everything, that's why I'm so happy that I got now your notes, because it all like starts to make more sense because you had a little bit more detail there than what the other creators had. So thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and move into the legal claims survival likelihood based on the hearing. And again, this is just me putting in all the notes from all the different observers who were there, the different content creators and their YouTubes, and what they observed and had on their notes. So these were the main claims: sexual harassment, retaliation, employment status, California law, extraterritorial, defamation, and spoliation. And these were the stars that ChatGPT gave based on the observations. Would you think this is accurate, or do you think that maybe the plaintiff side deserves a little bit more stars on some of these?
No.
You're like, no.
No, I could not.
But look at retaliation and employee is 5, because most of the observers there thought that the retaliation claims were not very, like, that the judge's questioning was more so leaning towards maybe that those claims may not be surviving. And the spoliation, even though Clark was one of the creators that thought the opposite, that the spoliation, that it seemed like maybe they might be in danger, but he did say he didn't also understand it, so maybe that's why he clocked it that way. But so that's a little scorecard. And then the final one is Judge Lyman. Everybody gave Judge Lyman like his flowers, because I know we've talked about Judge Lyman being biased and this and that, but in the courtroom, they said that he came in preloaded with the record, that he knew the record very well, anchored everything to Second Circuit standards, actively avoided creating new precedent. So this one is where he was asking, like, basically, like, would that set a precedent? Like, would we need a jury to, like, give consent every time somebody wanted to do a scene? So he was actively thinking ahead of what his decision would entail for the film industry. Framed questions like he was drafting the opinion in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And his overall bench was in full. Would you agree with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I walked away thinking, man, he really has to be wise in his assessment, and I think that he did command the bench. He was in
Um,
full command for sure.
and then we have Miss Sigrid. We're going to get into the very last half, which is the two women who have ruined this case this last week. From what I've seen on Reddit, it's Sigrid. But before we get into this very last hump, I want to remind you guys that this is Karol from docketupdates.com. For those that are just coming in, we have almost 700 people here, which is great because most of my morning shows, I've been getting bigger crowds now, probably because a lot of people are interested in this hearing. But so make sure you guys give docketupdates.com a follow. That is where you guys can see all the documents, and we have all the filings. What's up next? Stay tuned for the very end of the show where Karol's going to let us know what's up next and what we're waiting for as far as unsealings and all that stuff. So make sure you give a follow. And then also, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, we're usually here Monday mornings for Objection Live. And then we have, other evening shows. Make sure you subscribe so you can get notifications on community posts and all that stuff. So let's get into Sigrid McCawley. This one right here, it says Zach Peter calls Blake Lively insufferable after she hires Epstein's victim's lawyer to represent her in Justin Baldoni's case. So the chatter was already at the beginning of last week that people were annoyed that she had hired this woman, because now Baldoni's name is connected to Epstein in the SEO and stuff, and they just thought it was a bad move for her, because a lot of people who were survivors thought that, let me pull that one up real quick, thought that it was like a slap in the face for them to, we're like actual survivors, and she's like over here saying that somebody called her sexy. It just didn't align with who she had represented before. So a lot of people were already upset, even people who thought McCawley was a great lawyer and, defended the Epstein victims properly and everything. They were still kind of like, she fell into the Blake Lively quicksand. The moment she started representing her, people started kind of turning on her a little bit, like, how dare she? So it worked both ways, but she also killed Blake Lively because I said killed, but you know what I mean. She killed the vibe with Blake Lively even more so than it was, because the way that she presented herself outside that courtroom, y'all, people were upset about that. It says, yet another rules for thee, but not for me. Blake Lively added high-profile attorney Sigrid McCawley to her legal team with the focus on managing media and public-facing communications. But previously, Blake Lively filed motions seeking sanctions against Brian Friedman, accusing him of violating court orders and going on a press tour. She was the very first one out, even before the content creators, even before anything. She literally must have rushed out of there so quickly. And then she gave interviews, I believe, to ET and was commenting to People Magazine and all this other stuff. So she was on this little press tour, and it literally lit a fire up. A lot of people that were basically saying who is this lady? Why is she, talking like this? I'm not going to play it. It's about 11 minutes long, but you guys can go find it, what she actually says. But there's a point where she says that, this is so unfair. Justin Baldoni was at the workplace talking about, orgasms. He was there talking about his genitalia and describing it. And we know, the people who have read the court documents, not everybody reads all the court documents. Some people just watched that on Fox News and just thought, that was what it was. They don't know that it was a circumcision, and they were talking about the baby being circumcised, and he just happened to be like, well, my boys are circumcised and so am I, type of thing. I mean, that's something that you could say in confidence of a friend, regardless, right? And this is before she was employed. So how does that have anything to do with anything, right? The orgasm stuff, that was him talking about scenes in the movie, but she made it sound like he was just talking about orgasm. So people were very turned off by Sigrid. Lauren has a video. If you guys, again, Lethal Lauren 904, but I think here she's a court of random opinion. She had an episode where she deep dived into who Sigrid McCawley was. So you guys go check out that video. And then this was something that a viewer said, and I'm not one to shame anybody or anything but it was just, she said, I thought this was Kristen Wiig for an SNL skit. It looked very much like it was pre-rehearsed. She was very stiff, and she came off very, I don't know, she just didn't come off good. I feel like if she would have been more loose and been yeah, we're just fighting for our client. It was very key words of like, fighting back for women. She's fighting for her daughter, and all this stuff. What did you think about Sigfrid's appearance? And did you see her? I heard she sat with y'all on the bench.
I don't remember where she was sitting, but I think I think she was in the first row. I got a smile out of her when we were in line. She did smile, so that was nice of her. But what do I think about that interview?
Yeah, I'm like, what did you think? Were you also put off by it?
Yeah, I
Thought it was doing too much. Like, I mean, she went for like a full 11 minutes, I believe.
Yeah. I think she said actually way more than what was said or focused on at the hearing, right? So again, that's the whole purpose of why I went to the hearing myself, is to hear this stuff and not to hear the twisted narrative.
Wow,
I also
that's a good point. That's a good point. Like,
I also
twisted it.
I think DFJ asked this earlier, and she said, what's your stance on the Taylor Swift thing? I go back and forth. Like, are they still friends? Are they not? Doesn't matter. No, I guess it's just a conversation to be had. But Sigrid did say, if you guys remember, Blake Lively was upset about how she didn't want Baldoni to say anything bad about her, right? But then when he was singing her praises, she said, I don't like how he's representing our relationship in the media, right? Like she was upset about that. And I think when Sigrid mentions, when they ask her, like, is Taylor Swift something, she said, Miss Lively has gone to protect her friends. And then she quickly says her former acquaintances. She doesn't say and her former acquaintances. She says her friends. And then she goes, former acquaintances. And I think that maybe that is a thing between, maybe something that they've learned between, Blake Lively. This is why Taylor Swift is a master class. Maybe this is something Blake Lively learned from her, because Taylor Swift does not like you to misrepresent the relationship. That is my theory.
I mean, that's a good theory. Like, because she stumbled on that part where she's like almost like corrected herself. That's why I felt like it was a script, and she almost was like, oh, like I forgot the lines. It felt very, very rehearsed to me. And
I think that's
maybe
the thing that they do. I think that that's the thing that they do. Like, again, to control the media, to control, like, I think that is a master class from Taylor Swift. Like, don't misrepresent our relationship, or I will have to do something about it. And so when Sigrid said, Miss Lively has done everything to protect her friends, former acquaintances, it's like, okay, Taylor does not like for Blake Lively to misrepresent.
They don't need any more heat from Taylor. But somebody pointed out in the chat, yes, Sigrid is the lawyer facing Andy. And he went, if you guys didn't check out my my video, I was over with Nerd Report the other night, and it's in my post on community. You guys can go check it out. But Andy was over there, and he was saying that it was so funny that he was in the same room as Sigrid, and she's claiming that he's not a journalist and doesn't have journalistic privilege, but yet he was there covering the case. So yeah, he thought that was funny. So yes, it is Sigrid. And thank you so much for talking about Taylor, Karol, because that's a quick transition into our next thing. Blake Lively's attorney says this case is about Blake, not Taylor. That was what she was talking about. Karol right now was saying that, she basically was talking about the former acquaintances, but she also made a comment here. Let me see. So she doesn't name drop Taylor exactly, but it says it's about the harassment. It's not about them. It says, let me see, where's the exact quote? Ultimately, McCawley says it's not about them. So she didn't say Taylor Swift's name at all.
No, they asked her.
Make it seem like
they asked her about Taylor Swift. The question was specifically about Taylor Swift, and she replied, Miss Lively has done everything to protect her friends, and then she corrects herself and says, for former acquaintances.
So she says it's not about them. It's about the harassment she faced on the set. But it is about them. And so we're going to get into the second person. So I feel like Sigrid coming on did not do her any favors. In fact, somebody sent me this one too. And I'm like not trying to be mean. I like even thought maybe I shouldn't put it up. But somebody said it reminded them the SNL skit. And then somebody said it reminded them of Mad TV. So this might be like older. Some people might not know, but the rosy cheeks. This was Stewart from Mad TV. And they were like, it just was too much.
She also made another mistake. I think she called Wayfair Blake Lively's employees.
Oh yeah, I saw the video that Elsrich made. This is like when her employees. Does she mean employers or employees?
I think
she was like rehearsed, but not very well rehearsed. And then the outfit just wasn't doing it for me. Like I feel like if she would have gone in like a softer color, more approachable, and a little bit less makeup and stuff. I don't know. I just feel like it would have been like I like her in this picture right here. Hold up. Let me pull up this one. Like I feel like something like that, like in the white, a little bit more approachable. Here, I mean, I know that
don't give them ideas. They don't need any more help.
They don't need any more ideas. But I was like, with the peroxide hair and stuff, it just was giving like I don't know. It just was not it. Not for me. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, blink twice if you need help, because we know Ryan writes statements for people. So I was like, it seemed like almost like a hostage situation. Like she didn't want to be up there saying it, but she has to. But anyway, so Taylor Swift has entered the chat. We have this video from
I do want to address, like, people are saying, oh, she looks cheap, she looks bad. In person, she did not look like that. I think she looked very much like she makes bank.
Yeah,
she looked like
no need to bash looks, gang. I know I shouldn't have
no,
but people were sending me in my DMs like, look, she was giving like this, and yeah, maybe that one wasn't in good spirit, but
no, not necessarily that. All what I'm saying is like
we're talking about the feedback that citizens are giving.
Yeah, in person, she looked like money. Yeah.
So maybe
even though her tracks were showing, I think Katie said that too. Like her tracks were showing. I didn't see it, but she looked like money. I'm telling you, she looked.
We give you guys what the citizen chatter is, and again, I did disclose. I did before I pulled it up. I was like, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm gonna do it. They sent me this. They were like, "Did you see Sigrid?" But now, Sigrid, we don't want no smoke from you. We don't want no smoke. Sigrid obviously looked very well in person, but again, it just didn't translate. And like I said, she looked really, really good in this picture. I love her look. Her hair looks natural, and she looks like, yes, she's a boss bitch about to fight for women. This one just was not it. Let's move on to Taylor Swift real quick as we continue. People started to turn on Blake because of Taylor Swift, and vice versa. It seemed like Taylor Swift's bully behavior is like it's before it was like, oh, Blake has the Swifties on her side, because some of the Swifties were still like pro Blake, like they must still be friends. Now it's just like you two are a hot mess. And one of the things, this video, I linked it below. Well, I'm going to link it in the description when this is over. It's Lauren Conlon, who was there at the courthouse with Daily Dose of Donna. And I love this in real time because Lauren says that she thinks like, oh, it might have just been friends. Like, wouldn't you do that for your girlfriend? But one of the things that Donna clocks and points out is that this is way before any SH has happened. So all the Swifties that are saying like, if he was being a creepster to her, this is before he was being a creep to her or anything, that the takeover conversation had happened. So I thought that was interesting that, they clocked Taylor as a bully there way before any allegations had come out. So Taylor was saying like, oh, he's a dum-dum, he's a clown, way before he had really done anything. And then there was this, somebody sent me, sorry, I don't have the video, but it's Taz Jawip made a video, but it's basically saying, seeing the text between Taylor and Blake and realizing I was right to be Team Baldoni from the start. So did that affect you? I know that you've been clocking a lot of the Taylor lyrics in The Godfather. Did you want to, I think DFJ had earlier said, I want to hear more about Taylor Swift. You got her sat with your Taylor Swift. That you have a video of it over on Docket Updates of what you clocked with the Taylor Swift lyrics in which song was it again? It's not.
It was Father Figure.
Father Figure.
Yeah, I called you frantically. I was like, oh my God, what if what if that song is about Blake? Because she says, I drank that brown liquor. And we all know that Blake Lively's other name is Blake Brown, and that she has a liquor line. And so I made this little graphic that says brown liquor, Blake Brown, here's Blake's liquor. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, remember, like writers play on words, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean they drank Blake Brown. Maybe she's saying, I drank Blake Brown's juice. You know what I mean? I drank whatever liquor she gave me, whatever.
Talk about sharing drinks
me.
too. There's that one where she talks about sharing drinks in the backyard.
Yeah, I drank
Like
whatever she
taste
gave
of
me.
her liquor, like almost like poisoned her almost or something.
Yeah, like I gave the liquor she gave me, you know, I drank that. Or it could also mean I believed it. I believed what she was saying. So I think that I think that song is about her. And then someone messaged me and said, you know, both her and Taylor say that they have toxic masculinity. And so maybe that's why the reference to like mine, you know, mine is bigger kind of line in there. So yeah, I'm starting to think that song is about, and it could be about multiple people. You know, I don't think one song has to just capture one feelings to one person. But I do think that they include her feelings towards whatever happened. There was also a line in there about like, you seem to have changed. And that is, we see in text messages that she does feel like that about Blake. She says, you changed, like something's been different. And that Blake also feels it. So,
So what's your, it says, thank you so much for the super chat, DFJ. She's also our mods. Big shout out to the mods in the chat. Thanks for helping out and all you do. What's your latest theory on Swiss Roll? Have you, like, I was earlier in the week, I was still like, oh, maybe, you know, like I'm still like, me and DFJ actually did a stream earlier in the week where I was like, I made a poll, like, do we give Taylor Swift smoke or no smoke? And people in the chat were like, are you talking about going over to verbally you know, attack her? And I'm like, no, I'm talking about like whether or not we're giving her a buddy pass or we're going to include her in all this. Like, was she a big part of this or not? And at the time I felt like, no, she really wasn't. And even if she was, she made it right with the Wayfarer parties, according to Friedman's declaration. But now I'm just like, I really just don't like her at all. Like, I was a Swiftie because of the Easter eggs and I was kind of like a late Swiftie, but I'm just like, I don't like the kind of person she is. I don't like how she handled it. Even if she did at the very end try to, like, I feel like she would do it all over again. It's just that, you know, she has to protect herself. And that's the only reason why. And according to Friedman, it was actually her father who did it. So for me, I have changed my stance on don't come at me, Swifties, but I've changed my stance and feel like she was played a bigger role in all of this. She was probably second to Ryan. What do you think?
yeah, absolutely. She definitely played a role. And I think that's why it was so important for her to change the narrative. I didn't have any involvement. Baldoni should focus on his case. Baldoni, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't suit their narrative. But at the end of the day, we got to look at what the facts are. What are the actual real-time documentation of their interactions? And we see that she was very much involved and she very much wanted Blake Lively to take over. So for her to say publicly to PR, I'm not involved. I think she even said, I didn't even watch the movie until after it was released. Take a look at
we have
her
that text
statement.
message that says that she approves the cut.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
Colleen wants this cut and so does Taylor.
So then you got to think, what is it, narrative, or can I prove this with facts? And so I think that the facts say other things. They don't support the narrative that they are trying to spin you.
Exactly. And the crazy part, and why I keep saying support your creators, like the streams, comment on them, boost the algorithm, because a lot of people don't have the time to go through the text messages and all that stuff. I know, you know, Docket Updates, you know, thankfully has everything all in one little spot for us to go look. But a lot of people don't take the time. That's why supporting Docket Updates is important. We're gonna show you guys how you can support docket updates at the end of the stream. But let me shout out, thank you, DFJ. And if you guys haven't checked out our stream, we get into Taylor Swift on the live reactions of the great unsealing of everything. So go check out that video. I wanted to really quick, thank you so much, Jal Creative Tennis, for the $5. Can't believe it's been a year, this nightmare for Justin and Wayfair. That PGA letter was wild. Thanks for all that you guys do. And then we also got a $2.99 super sticker from Miss Busted. Thank you so much for all that. But yeah, we're gonna let you guys know how you guys can support docket updates here in a second. Let me go ahead and transition out. Let's see, hide that into the next as we end the show. Something positive in the show. Justin Baldoni had birthday tributes coming in. And I apologize if Blue Sky is in the chat, because I know she did all the sleuthing and got all the birthday tributes for me over on TikTok. But for some reason, I can't load my messages on TikTok. So I don't know if TikTok is spazzing out, but it says I have no messages. So I can't see my messages on TikTok right now. And I thought it was just like a glitch because of like the snow and all that stuff. I wasn't sure. But yeah, as we wrap up, he did have all of that. So you guys can go check that out on Reddit. All right, and so as we move on, you guys can do the MSJ stuff here. Under it ends with lawsuits. I'm going to pull it out of the bottom. This is like the big mega thread on it ends with lawsuits on Reddit. And then we also have, here we go, docket updates. Do you want to go ahead and let us know what is all upcoming on docket updates and what you have, what's going to be unsealed?
Yeah. So I put all the filings of the stuff that was sealed and unsealed. If you scroll down just a little bit, if you, or is this a screenshot or, okay,
No, I can scroll.
Okay, so from Wayfair parties, we're expecting eight things that were too big for the ECF system, which is Pacer and therefore court listener. So we're not going to see it on there. We're going to get the CDs and then put it on the website. So if you push the plus sign right now, they don't do anything, but each set of video or whatever that thing holds will be, you'll push the plus sign and it'll be in there. Okay. Those 8 things are what we're waiting from the Wayfair team. The 3 things below that is what we're waiting from the Lively parties and their CD. So we'll try to get somebody out there today and post that today. And
I know Clark said that it might be snowed in. Do you know if they ended up opening the courthouse or is it snowed in? Because I know Lauren was talking about how her son was snowed in because she was going to come on Lauren Conlin from Pop Report. But she said that it was snowed in, so it might be, we might not be available. What is this one? Unsealed files. Is this everything?
Go ahead and push like plus sign. So in Court Listener, these all files are kind of scattered everywhere. I'm letting you know here what belongs to the MSJ that has been unsealed. Anything in red is something new that we haven't seen until this latest unsealing. Anything in black is something that we've already previously had from the Wayfair parties giving it to us before. So that's all the documents under Wayfair's MSJ are right there. So everything has a link. And if it's a link to one of the videos, it's going to take you click it and it's going to take you to the top. Like if it's one of the videos, for example.
Where can we find an example of it? Is it at the bottom?
Go to, give me just 1 second. Go to,
there this is.
Go to 1245-15 or you're right there. Go to 1245. Oh yeah. Go down, right there. 15.
So if you click it, it'll take you
and
back up.
It'll take you right back up here. And you see how it's kind of like more bolder. Yeah. And it'll be there. So that way we're going to keep everything in one place so you guys can find it. Because it was kind of hard to see what motion they belong to. So that's why I put it that way. And then keep going to the bottom again. So you'll see different ones. And you can retract it by clicking the title again. So at the top, click the title at the way top.
Oh, at the way top. Sorry. Hold on.
Go up click that title. Yeah, that WP MSJ. Yeah, minus. Yeah, you could either click that and it'll just shrink it.
And then it'll
And
shrink
then
it. You can get into
Blake
another one.
Lively's. So if you look at Blake Lively's, most of her stuff wasn't given to us. It's completely new. And I have yet to put those three. Those three are the ones that are left.
Wow. And so this is what we're expecting. This is what Bocce last night was saying on her live. If you guys haven't seen that, I think it's over on Bocce's channel. Karol was on there and they were talking about all the latest stuff. And Bocce was most looking forward to these emails. They're 1 year worth of emails from Blake Lively, and people were speculating like with who. I thought Baldoni, like Occam's razor, it would be exchanges over that year with Baldoni. But there was other guesses in the chat. There was some people who thought it might be Taylor. Who do you
Maybe
think?
Sony
or
WME?
Or WME. So Karol's putting I didn't even think about WME, honestly. But it could be, or it could be just a bunch of people. It could be Sony, WME, and Taylor. It could be just her emails with all the parties.
Mm-hmm.
And then this audio message, do we know what this is going to be? February 8th. Do we know what that happened on that date? Is that what do you think that could be? You don't know. Coslow, this is from
TikTok
the
videos.
TikTok videos. Okay, so some TikTok videos and then some emails. Has anybody sleuthed out the dates of these on what they could be? What happened on these dates? Nobody? Maybe we'll get into it, but we should have these fairly soon. And that leads me to the buy me a coffee. This is how you can support docket updates. They have this little cup at the bottom of the page, and then it goes to buy docket updates a coffee. You could do 1, 3, 5, 10. And it's $3 to buy a coffee. Look, there's Khaleesi. Shout out to Khaleesi. She's gonna be
Thank you.
replay crew. She said last night when she saw it, she's like, I'm gonna have to be replay crew. A lot of people are at work. Thank you so much for everybody who is here. But you can see everybody who's like donated. There's I believe Miriam Bizio. That's another one of our members in our community supporting. So it's really cool. I like to go see like everyone who's supporting. It's cool to see all the kind words and everything. For docket updates. I mean, she works really, really hard. Y'all saw this. Like, this is not an easy task. She's still trying to get everything together for us. But this is what's next. And see right there in the corner, you see that little coffee cup? Y'all go see that coffee cup and help her get through it because she's going to need a lot of coffee. For the week.
So what's next is I need to finish uploading the depositions. Hopefully I can wrap that up today. I'm going to finish posting the files and which filing it belongs. And guys, the reason I have it this way is sometimes the attorneys like refiled certain things because they messed up or the attachment. And so that's why I'm using it this way of like, here's everything under the MSJ and the active link that holds that document. And hopefully it helps you guys sort. I also noted, black and red things is completely new stuff. Black is we've seen it before. And also I noted who wanted something sealed and, if the judge unsealed it. So you'll see it on some exhibits. It'll say unsealed per court order, BL redactions rejected. And so that means, Lively wanted that redaction, or it'll say Wayfarer's redactions rejected and they wanted it unsealed. Or here, Jed Wallace's redactions were applied. So just kind of hopefully gives you a little more color to each one of the documents. I will continue to index them. So whatever you see there now, I will you'll see some titles I have already gone through what the document holds, and I'll put notes like, this is an email between Sony and Jamie Heath, and they're discussing blah, blah, blah. So I'll put little summaries. I will also continue throughout the week post groupings, like here's all of Taylor Swift's text in one group, and I'm going to put content that belongs to that right under there. It's just a lot of work, and it does take a little bit of time to make it come together that way. In one post, I put all of the Van Zandt references and all the content that belongs to the Van Zandt stuff. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys to digest and kind of take these little bite-sized bites into all this filing. And on top of that, I am working on a timeline, a master timeline with all of the text messages that are going to be searchable, because right now the text messages, emails, etc., they are picture scans, so you can't really search. If you were looking for the dragons text, you can't really search dragons and find it because they're images. I am working on that so that you can search the text and you can see what docket you can find it on. So it's not on Trust Me vibes, bro. Vibes. It's like, here's where you can find that docket.
I wanted to give you your flowers because today I was looking for 1072 when I was trying to put together the show for the Oakland Raiders part. I only had the redacted version. And so I was like, oh, I need the unsealed version. But how would I get that? Well, docketupdates.com. And I hit search 1072. And obviously some other numbers came up because I think, like if it has a 7, it comes up. But there it was. And I was able to get it super quick. And it's been invaluable to me to put together this show. So I'm so happy to finally have you here and be able to give you your flowers in person and stuff and, go over it. Because every show pretty much I do, I'm always like, docket updates. It's really super easy to find everything.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for even allowing me to be one of your resources for this trial.
Yeah, it's going to come in handy, especially when it does go to trial. I want to pull this up from Bizio. I never call you Miriam. I always call you Bizio, but I just love how it sounds. Bizio Music. Miriam, our very own. Such a generous super chat for us, and I will make sure that we get some to Karol for her docket funds, as well as my 7-Eleven coffees. I could not go out and get a 7-Eleven coffee today. I made some instant Folgers that I spilled. And I was like, it didn't want me to have because I had put I had made Toscana. I cooked Toscana 2 nights ago or something, and I had half and half still left over. So I was like, I'm gonna put a little. Normally, everybody knows that I take my coffee black here in the chat, but I was like, I'm gonna put a little bit of half and half in it, and that's the one that I just spilled. So then I ended up making another one, and it was just black because I didn't have any more half and half. But anyways, thank you so much, Bizio, for the super generous donation. Docketupdates.com. We're going to drop the link one more time for those that are still coming in and don't know about it. We're going to drop the link one more time in the chat. You guys can go to the actual website that has everything. I mean, we got playlists, we got calendar. What's next? Let me go into the calendar real quick.
And I mean, if people would like it, I can give them a sneak peek into the timeline. If you guys want to take a look at that.
Screen? Can you share? I think you can share the screen. Can you present at the bottom? I think you can hit present or invite.
Okay.
Can you? Maybe not. I thought I had it open for you to present.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me put you up there. Hold on. I gotta remove mine. All right, there you go.
So this is a little bit of an example of what the timeline will look like. It is in an accordion style timeline because I want to make sure it's easy on the eyes when you first look at it. It's sorted by months. It's sorted by text message. And a really good example of what this will hold, it will hold the text messages where you can search the text. It will have links to the docket that it's located. If there's I usually put some tags at the bottom if there's like an unknown name or there's a redaction so that I remember to go back and check if we've gotten that information. It will have links. So if the text message reference a link, I have made those links active. I have included the images that are in the chat. There's even some Vitushka. There's even some chats with like James Vitushka that you can barely see because it's kind of blurry in the chat, and I do my best to read it, and I put it I did put it somewhere in here like what the text message says. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. If there's chats in certain documents, but I also found it in another spot, I'm saying like you can find it in this docket, you can find it also in this docket. And it'll also have connection. So if there's a connection to, meaning the chat that they're referring to is not within this chat, it's somewhere else, you'll be able to click this and jump to that part of the page that holds that reference. So
we're getting exclusive here. I feel special. This is really cool. Like me for the super sleuth, this is going to be invaluable, because right now, I mean, we try to keep it all in our head as much as we can, all the dates and everything. And we have the lawsuitinfo.com timeline. And there's also, you know, other like little dates and stuff that people have put together. But this looks like it's like a mega timeline of everything.
Yeah. So for example, here in this text message between James Vitushka and Melissa Nathan, there's these screenshots, right? And I put a note in there for people that say this screenshot is actually something that we see in this page. So you'll be able to click that and it'll take you to whenever that was said back in, I don't know, I think it was like August or something. So you'll be able to click on that and go back to that reference. I'm also checking the times based on it being, you know, I enter it into ChatGPT to see that I'm trying to follow it as accurately as possible. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some mess up somewhere in there, and I'll add suggestions or, hey, report some sort of discrepancy so that I can edit this. But what I'm still working on is at the top, I will add a search function that only searches this page, not the rest of the website, just this page. And has ability to search by tags, or like if you only want to see James Vitushka stuff, like that's what this is.
That is amazing. I am super excited for this. I'm super excited for the rest of the attorney page. I literally wake up. It used to be I'd wake up and do like Daily Mail and stuff, like back in the day. This is before Baldoni, like a year ago, you know, TMZ. That's where I was getting like my news and all that stuff. And now it's like I have all these content creators, you know, down my feed that I like to go to daily. But not only that, but I wake up with docketupdates.com, and it ends with lawsuits on Reddit. Those are my two go-tos, like first thing in the morning, because they're super easy to read. And then I'll be like, what's new, you know? And really quick, are you done with this so I can go back to?
Yeah, you can go back to. And hi, Katie. I see you in the chat.
I can't see the chat, y'all, a lot because for some reason I don't see some of the YouTube stuff. I have to have it open on YouTube. Oh, there I see her. This feels so weird on YouTube. There she is, Katie. Yeah, I sometimes I can't bring them up when they're on YouTube. But yes, we did talk about Katie and her being there. You'll have to rewind the show where we featured you. And I'm sorry I did you dirty, Katie. I accidentally, when we were gonna play your video, I had it paused on a certain spot. And I was trying to get it to where your face, like, put it in a better spot, and then I couldn't. So my bad for that in advance. But yes, we did play your video of your Sunday magic moment thoughts earlier in the feed. I wanted to pull up this one by Lisa, who said she was new here. Hi, Lisa. If anybody else is also new here, hit that bell, subscribe, go over to docketupdates.com. Docket Updates on YouTube, and hit that bell as well. And down here, you guys, anybody who's in the chat, look down here for any more on the MSJ hearing. If y'all can't get enough, here are all the content creators on this ticker of who was there. Katie, who's in the chat, was there. Popcorn Planet, obviously Docket Updates. Clark was there. He's on Reddit. So y'all go upvote him. That always helps his karma. Court of Random Opinion, not actually golden, little girl attorney. And then we have on X, Inner City Press, and Lauren Conlon. So make sure you guys go follow all that. And let's see what's next on the judicial calendar here. It seems like the 28th, that's in 2 days. It's the deadline for Blake Lively to make a settlement demand and for JonesWorks to make a settlement demand. And then we have the deadline to inform BL of their response to that demand by February 4th, a settlement conference on the 12th, and then the deadline for Wayfair to reply in opposition for the summary judgment in the New York Times case on February 27th. So we will get to enjoy our Valentine's Day this year. Remember last year we were waiting on the opposition for Blake? It's so funny. And then it's got some March dates, April going into May when the trial comes. So, and then from between now and May, we're waiting on the judge's decision for this MSJ hearing. So, hopefully that comes sooner than later. I'm hoping that at least the things get dwindled down and there's not that many claims going to trial. That would be a win for Wayfair, I believe. And then also, I'm hopeful and prayerful. I know that nobody believes that it won't go to trial because there are some fact disputes, especially the lawyers who are saying, there is some stuff that will get through. But I don't know, for some reason, I'm like pie in the sky that maybe it just gets all thrown out and then we get to enjoy our spring. But again, docketupdates.com. Here's the website. And then for me, what's next? We are going to be doing a show tonight on film credits and creative control, intimacy in film, precedent setting decisions, Baldoni versus Lively. I'm going to go into, I went down a rabbit hole about PGA credits and why credits are so important and all these fights that have happened before over credits. So we're going to get into that, what the credits actually mean, the difference between PGA and all that stuff. As well as what this decision can mean as far as intimacy in film when it comes to having to seek consent for improvisation and all that stuff that happened during the MSJ. So tune in tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing that show. And then also I'm doing another show. I'm not sure when. It might be Monday's show or it might be sooner than that. But it's going to be a Dance Moms show and it's going to be interactive. It'll be so fun. It's basically Blake Lively as Abby Lee Miller and who's going to be at the top of the pyramid, who did the best for her in this whole movie takeover. It's just a fun little show that I thought might be fun. If you guys are interested in it, drop in the comments, Dance Moms, if you watch this all the way, so that I know that you've watched it to the very end. Just comment Dance Moms and let me know if that's something you're looking forward to watching. It's just a little fun thing, since she said that they were her Dance Moms in that text. And then also coming up, we have Bocce's new album that I'm very excited about. She's constructing the new album. It's called Tiny Violins. Last night, she was actually still, brainstorming. And she's like, I need to have like a main track of the album. And she was thinking about maybe it being Buckingham Palace, because all these celebrities pass through Buckingham Palace. And then the rest of the songs are like each celebrity that like helped in the, alleged takeover or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yes.
Over on Bocce's channel. She has a stream. It's an hour and 30 minutes where her and the chat kind of brainstorm all this. So it's pretty fun. Are you looking forward to it too, Karol?
Yeah, I love her albums.
Yeah, they're super fun. But before there was Bocce, as we leave the stream, before there was Bocce, there was Inner City Press, y'all. He was one of the first. There was a guy from the Karen Reed trial that did something on his guitar. But this was the very first, before there was Kirby and Bocce and anybody. It was Inner City Press on his guitar. And I thought we could go out with his little rendition of the Blake Lively Subpoena Quashing Blues. Oh my gosh, it's such a throwback, But Karol, thank you so much for being here. We're gonna play this song. Oh, I didn't even realize I didn't hide the comment. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to say anything else before we go with the outro song?
No, I'll let you take it away.
Good. All right, then we're gonna go out with the outro. Thank you so much, chat, and we will see you guys tonight. And if we don't see y'all tonight, we'll see you Monday morning. Again, Objection Live. Thanks so much, everybody.
Me, so I'm gonna sue them. Every tweet and TikTok, I will make them rue them. Even sue the law firm to make them list their clients. Use the legal system, not an art but science. SDNY motion quashing blues. Stupid lawsuit all over the news.
That's my favorite part.
Hollywood hearsay is the book. Subpoena flurry is the chance I took. Everybody hates me, so I'm gonna sue them. Every tweet and TikTok, I will make them rue them. Even sue the law firm to make them list their clients. Abuse the legal system, not an art but science. SDNY motion quashing blues. Stupid lawsuit all over the news. Hollywood hearsay is the book. Subpoena flurry is the chance I took.
And that is
okay. Here we are.
Matthew, make sure y'all give Inner City Press a follow. Y'all have a great morning, have a great day, and a great week. See y'all.
Bye, guys.